Yesterday was Tuesday, did my first ever Zwift race on the Wahoo Kicker in here, and it was horrific, absolutely disastrous, could not possibly have gone much worse. It came 28th out of 30, so I guess I could have done worse by 2 more places. I thought there was some sort of lagging glitch in the software. It was just me lagging though apparently, because they just rode off. Then there were hills, and the hills felt like you were cycling up a hill, which I suppose is good for realism, but sucks for feeling like you're running up a hill. The whole experience was just... Last night I watched videos on YouTube, I read up on how to do better at Zwift, and today is a new day. I'm going to re-attack it at 3 o'clock this afternoon. I've got a race lined up. Although most of the advice I read last night did seem to say that if you tell the software that you're 6'6" and 225 pounds, it will make it feel like you're 6'6" and 225 pounds in the Zwift world, which I don't know how really to solve that other than telling it I'm a hobbit or something. So that's later on today. In the meantime, Wednesday, first run day of the week. It's an hour steady. So like all my runs in November that are around an hour or less, I'm doing it weighted. So got the weights vest ready. Gave it a clean actually over the weekend and was really impressed. I didn't realise, but the little weight packets all come out so you can clean it properly. And obviously you can adjust it by leaving some of the weight packages out if you wanted. I wasn't going to bother reviewing it as such because I thought they're all pretty much the same. But actually this one, I forget what it even is called, I'll stick a link below, is actually very good. It's made of neoprene, so it's nice and comfortable. The straps are nice and wide, so it doesn't dig in on your shoulders. Yeah, really pleased with that. So I'm going to slap that on and go running. I'm also going to test on the run some of my cycling gear that arrived yesterday. One of the things that cheered me up after the terrible bike ride was when the parcel man showed up. I'd been for a bike ride on Saturday morning, been really, really cold when I set off. It got better as it went on, but chilly. I'm not going to ride if it's really, really cold and wet and horrible. I've just come in here on the bike. So it's kind of chilly weather gear. Long sleeve jersey, thermal-ish, which I'm not going to wear now because I'll cook on a run, but I am going to wear my leg warmers. I have the exact same warmers from Castelli for my arms, and they're great because I cycle along with my arms cold, and then as soon as I warm up I take them off and stow them in my back pocket. Hopefully can do the same with the leg warmers. My legs in particular started off really cold, but then obviously got really warm because I'm using my legs, and hopefully these will be a perfect sort of halfway house between the bib shorts that I have now and buying full length bib, not shorts, what's the trousers, leggings, tights maybe, I don't know what they call them, long bib things. Leg warmers to test. Oh, and some gloves because my fingers got really, really cold, and hopefully that will solve that. And what else to... Oh yeah, I got the Garmin remote for the Garmin bike computer, but more on that later. For now, let's go run. Leg warmer update. Well, they're no longer on my legs. They started off great, then slid down, became shin warmers, then ankle warmers. I looked like I was going to aerobics class in 1987. Hopefully on the bike they'll stay up better, less bouncing about. Until they fell down, they were lovely. The gloves are working fine though. Okay, probably gonna end up doing, I don't know, 12, 13k maybe, 1 hour, 450 pace. It's okay with the pack on. Let's get a bit more done. Halfway, just over 6k. Average pace 5:01 minutes per kilometre, which is awesome. Gives me a nice little target. There's no way I'm finishing this run with the average pace at 5 or above. So I've got to pick this up. The vest doing its job, crushing me. It's got to be adding 30 seconds per kilometre, easy. And it's brutal, there's nothing I can do about it. As soon as I try and speed up, my form goes. As your form goes with 25 pounds on, everything hurts. So I've got to focus on running well and somehow figure out how to go quicker too. Loving it. Got it. Got it. Got it. 59.36 for 12k. So 4:58 pace. Wow. 59.36, 12k, 4:58 pace. £25 pack. Hard work. Last 5k. Had to pick that pace up to get it back down under 5, but we did. Very satisfying. In fact, talking about how satisfying it is, it made me realise why I do these YouTube videos. I thought it was one thing, but I think it's something else. I'll explain. I used to think that I did this YouTube for accountability to who? I don't know, you, to me. If I say I'll do something, then I'm accountable for it. I don't think that's the case. In fact, it's not the case. I'm not accountable. I just edit it out if I said something I didn't want to do, or delete the video. I think it's simpler than that. I think it's just me telling myself little stories as I go through the day. Today was a perfect example. I get halfway into my run, I'm off target. I tell myself, get back on target. That's the story. That's the story for this run. The setup, the run, the conflict, off target, the resolution, getting back on time. I'm just living in my own little movie world. I don't know if that's better than accountability or not, but although it did occur to me, obviously I'm going to ride the bike later for my Zwift race, which will be interesting now, having just exhausted my legs. They will bounce back, I'm sure. Bit of breakfast, bit of lunch. 3 o'clock, I think, is my race on there. Yeah, back in here for 3. It's 20 to 3, so I've got 10 minutes. I'm going to start warming up for the race at 3 o'clock. Everything is all set up for Zwift to go. I've just got time, therefore, to stick my new remote control for my Garmin unit on the new front end bars on the Cervelo. And I'm going to bring the camera in so you can see them properly, because it involves some beautiful bits of carbon fibre, which is basically a very expensive way of allowing me to have an extra meal and still maintain a nice light weight. So I've removed the water bottle that used to sit between the aero bars, replaced the existing aero bars with the new carbon fibre ones from Drag to Zero, got a small pouch on there to carry my gels. The existing pouch that's on top of the frame is going to get replaced because I've got a part coming from America that allows me to convert that into a storage unit to hold water that will actually sit inside the frame. The Garmin mount is now positioned perfectly right in front of my eyes, doesn't bounce around like it used to do on top of the old water bottle, and these things just feel superb. They're a lot longer than the standard ones. They also angle upwards more, so my hands don't go to the end. I can easily get my fingers up onto the tips to change gear if I need to. I used to feel in the past that my hand was right on the end of the bar, almost to the point of feeling like it was going to fall off the end if I was going over bumps. The only downside is I can't easily get to the Garmin to swipe through the different screen options. So I'm using the Garmin remote control, little tiny disc with 3 buttons, one to change to different screens, one to stop and start, and one to hit your lap button. It comes supplied with a little bracket that you could use to fit it onto a regular handlebar. I've got nowhere on this bike that can go, so I'll use that on one of the other bikes so I can switch it between bikes if I need to. Instead, I'm going to just be using a little mount that's held on with elastic bands. Now, ideally, I want to get it up on top of the aero bars because that's the position that I'm most likely to want to flick through the screens in. No matter where I'm trying this thing, it's not going to work. It's going to have to go down on the drop bars, which is no bad thing. Even if I'm on the aero bars, to reach down and hold onto the drop bar to change settings is easy enough. Way easier than taking my hand off the aero bar to bring it up underneath my face and fiddle about with the Garmin directly. Typical Garmin, super simple, just held on with a couple of rubber O-rings, and that is it. It clicks in place, it can be switched between bikes, perfectly positioned so I can get my thumb onto it when I'm riding. And as I say, it lets me flick through the screens, different data screens available, and also stop and start the thing if I need to as well. Perfect bit of kit. Okay, the race starts in 5 minutes, we're good to go. My setup, which I'm describing so that you can tell me how I should be doing it better, is I've got Zwift running on the MacBook, mainly because it means I can record on the MacBook. If I filter it through to the TV, I can't then record it. That seems to work. It worked yesterday, although I managed to somehow then delete the recording of the ride, although that was no bad thing. You wouldn't want to have seen that. And I've got a little companion app thing, whatever that's supposed to do, on my iPhone. And I think I'm kind of good to go. I'm going to start pedalling away on a ride just to warm up. Starts in 2 minutes 40. How exciting. All the advice online was, even in a normal race, let alone a sprint, get off the line fast and then settle down. So I'm going to try and get off the line fast. Okay, here we go, 5 seconds. We're off. Hold on, 2 things to apologise for. First of all, it's really windy in here. It's got windy and horrible, and it's whistling through, it's rattling the doors, it's annoying, and I expect the microphone can hear it. I'm going to solve that though, because I'm getting some space cleared in the home office to do my filming from for this sort of stuff in there. So, solution. The second thing to apologise for is the race that I'm about to go through and review with you. I have no solution to that. I don't know how to describe it. I said earlier about how I kind of play little movies in my head to motivate myself. That's because it's motivating, because they're normally a sort of success story movie. My run this morning, always off track, no, he comes in on time. It's like a little Rocky film in my head. I don't know what film would be the equivalent of this race. Maybe Benjamin Button, if instead of going from really old to really young, he went from quite good to shit in about 6 minutes. That would be this film. So let's just talk through it, and yeah, let's. Okay, the good bit, and I did say that I'd been advised to go quickly off the line, and I'm going to end up using this image in my thumbnail, I think, because it is good for nothing else. I blasted off of the line. I dropped like 1,000 watts immediately into the lead. I was leading the race, which took me by surprise. I almost thought maybe I'd gone too soon, like a false start or something. Okay, worryingly, I appear to be in the lead. That can't be right. So I'm winning the race, which is, I mean, it's all. I am winning the race at this point. I mean, let's not beat about the bush. I am leading this thing from the front, where traditionally one leads from. I am first of 75. If this were a 50-yard dash, I have nailed this, no question whatsoever. Yeah, 10 points to the big man. Obviously, it goes on though. So they start catching me, which is obviously anticipated. I let my wattage drop down a bit, as I have to, because my legs are getting tired. And suddenly there's loads of people around me. And I thought, this is good. I'm in the pack and I can draft along and it will just be easy. And then they cycle past me. And I imagine cycle past me laughing at why the person in category C. Let's go back a step. I should have explained this already. This is a sprint race, because I did a half-hour race yesterday, and after the run this morning and that, my legs were shot. I couldn't do a long race. So this is just a sprint. The category I'm racing is category C. They do the category based on your watts per kilogram from your FTP. My FTP is 316, although that's according to a ramp test, so it's probably closer to 300. And so 100 kilos, roughly, a bit over 100 kilos, that's about 3 watts per kilogram. So 3 watts per kilogram puts me into category C. And all the people in category A and B, I'm expecting them to come past me. And they do. Off they go. They just pedal off into the distance. But I'm feeling all right at this point. I'm still relatively straightforwardly generating a few hundred watts. It's all going relatively smoothly. Let's jump forward a bit. Every now and again, a little group of riders would kind of come from behind and gather around me, and it would get a bit easier to sit in their draft with them. But annoyingly, that draft effect in my head would mean that I could just sit there and not pedal and get pulled along. Obviously, in reality, it's not quite like that. In reality, or in Zwift, apparently, because actually all that happens is it's a bit easier to pedal and then they just ride off and leave you. So that didn't go to plan. The hills, this was a flat course, but there's still a couple of hills. And one of the problems, and this is the problem with Zwift for me and people like me, larger individuals, is that you tell Zwift how heavy you are and also how tall you are. So I tell it I'm very tall and I'm very heavy. And it then takes that data and it puts it into its complex algorithm and basically says, ah, okay, this guy's screwed. That's how the algorithm works. It screws you over. There have been a couple of tests that I watched last night where people cheated the figures to show them racing identical but with different heights. And basically, the taller you are, the worse it is. Zwift allows for the fact that you are less aerodynamic. The way for me to have solved that, for example, would have been to tell it that I was 4'7" and weighed 110 pounds. And with my 316 FTP, I would presumably be virtually cycling very fast. But I don't. I tell it that I am legitimately huge and large and heavy, and consequently I am being overtaken by people walking their dogs. And so last couple of 100 meters, and I'm thinking, well, at least on the map it doesn't show anyone close to me, which is good, because I don't want someone coming past me at the last minute and losing another place. And I don't have the energy to sprint, so that's nice. And then almost literally at the last minute, somebody does come flying past me. I have no ability to do anything about it other than watch them cycle off and leave me behind. It's kind of story of this race. There are two ways of looking at numbers. I was looking on my phone at the Zwift results on the Zwift app, and there's a few more people shown in the race on there than on here, which is Zwift Power, which not everyone seems to use. So my placing on here is slightly worse because there's less people to have beaten. Not that I beat many anyway. So in category C, category I'm in, I was 7th out of 9. That is a below average result. I mean, yeah, it is what it is. Some interesting numbers, I suppose. I'm generating 314 watts average, which in category C is more than anybody else. In fact, if I tally the results of everybody, category A, B, C and D, and group them by wattage, I'm actually sort of halfway down the field. Not too bad at all. But stating the obvious, because of my size, doesn't work like that. This sums it up. If we tally these by weight, the person at the top is me. 102.1 kilograms, 198 centimeters. The person at the bottom is a 10-year-old who is 36 kilograms and 150 centimeters with 196 beats per minute average heart rate. Kids, they generated an average 154 watts. I generated an average 314 watts. So more than twice the power. And yet I was 1 second faster. So twice as much power, 1 second faster. What does that tell me? I don't know what it tells me. I'm not really sure how I feel about Zwift racing. It sort of feels like I am, and very obviously I am, predisposed to always doing relatively badly, or relatively well, but badly. There is nothing good there that I can think of. Am I going to ever race on Zwift again? I may well be done with Zwift. If I am missing something, if there is a way that despite my size, I can make Zwift work for me, legitimately, I don't mean cheating the numbers, and find it enjoyable. Maybe there's a downhill course. If there's a downhill course where my weight is obviously beneficial, tell me about that. I will be doing that in an instant. Otherwise, I might be done with it. Interesting? I hope so. If you are a larger than average rider and you also use Zwift, tell me about it. How do you find it? Maybe I'm missing something. I 314 watts average more than anyone else in my group, and I come almost last. That is demotivating. Do you find it motivating? If so, how are you doing that? Where are you finding that motivation from that? I can't spot it immediately. So before my free trial runs out, let me know. In the meantime, like and subscribe because that keeps the videos coming, and see you on the next one.